What's going on? It's the Pocket Moggers. Hope you're doing well today. I've got a video here ranking my favorite routes of each of the generations of Pokemon. Of course, this is all in my humble opinion. You will probably have drastically different answers for this, but let me know what you think in the comments below. What routes do you like in this series? Are there any that you just absolutely despise? Let me know too. I can't think of any, but I'm sure there's one if I actually took a long time and put some thought into it. But if you think of one, let me know, please. Anyway, I hope y'all are having a wonderful day. With that out of the way, let's get started. So starting in Generation 1, as we should, we have Route 12, the Silence Bridge. It's also part of Route 13, I believe, but that whole area is structured the same, so they kind of count as the same entity for me. This is the first area in Red and Blue version when I first played the games that I actually wanted to explore and check out and see stuff. I mean, the bridges are strange from the rest of the game's perspective. There's nothing else quite like them. And that made me curious about it. It was big open ocean area, with water that you could see before you got surf, which was a fun little tease too. Um, it's Kanto kind of has some problems with route design and area layout and stuff like that, and that's just because of the limiting technology and the super massive crunch that they had to go through in order to get the game to come out and things like that. It's not a particularly interesting region from that perspective. But the Silence Bridge was one of the few areas in Kanto that actually made me go, "Oh wow, cool! This is a fun little layout we've got going on here." The music here is fantastic. It's my favorite song in the whole Pokemon soundtrack. Kanto's been remade and revisited a billion trillion times, but I never get tired of hearing this theme and coming out here and checking this area out. It's always great. From an in-game perspective, there aren't really any special Pokemon here, especially in the original games and Fire Red and Leaf Green. On Route 13, you can get Farfetch'd in yellow version. Uh, Gold, Silver, and Crystal and the remakes have Wild Chansey out here. You can trade them for an Aerodactyl too. Scyther, Pinsir, Tauros, and Kingler are here in Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. Some of those are good, some of those are iconic. All of them are Pokemon we're all familiar with, I'm sure. I'd say overall, if I was to give this route a rating out of 5, it'd be a 3.5 out of 5. It's great. The music's really good, but outside of just the layout itself, and I think this is the only part of the game where there are rocker trainers, so that's kind of fun too. But outside of that, yeah, there's just not much to it itself. You don't even have to visit this area for your playthroughs. For those of you who have listened to videos on the channel before, you'll know already that I work with adults with special needs, and one of the young men that I work with loves to play Pokemon games. And every time he does a playthrough of Fire Red and Leaf Green or Red, Blue, or Yellow or something, I have to tell him, "Hey, buddy, did you go over there? Did you do some training over there to help out your Pokemon?" And every time he goes, "Oh no, I forgot." And of course he does. The game literally doesn't tell you anything about it, and that's part of why I like it so much, but it definitely does detract from the overall appeal and the number of people who have seen it. I bet to this day there are Pokemon players who have beaten Generation 1 back and forth several times and have never come to this area. But yeah, that's my favorite for Gen 1. What do y'all think? Let me know below. For Generation 2, my favorite is Route 43 and the connecting Lake of Rage. They just kind of have the exact same vibe. Parts of the route and parts of the lake peek in and out of each other and stuff like that. So I'm going to count them as one area just for the sake of it. Um, like Route 12 over in Kanto, this was the first part of Johto, the first route in Johto that got me exploring. Let me make that clear, because there were different areas like Union Cave. I was exploring Union Cave in and out, but I just didn't pay much mind to the actual routes themselves until I got here. Where you had the nice little surf ponds that you could cut across to find cool stuff. There were cut bushes that led to unique trainers and items. There's a maze that you can go through that leads you to the hidden power TM. Excuse me, sorry there, guys. I have hiccups. I'm working my way through them. If they come back, I do apologize in advance. Sorry. But yeah, there's just a lot to this route. There are different trainers here, whether or not you've defeated the red Gyarados. There's just a lot. I think there are different trainers here for different days too. I know one of the sibling twins is around here. I mean sibling twins. Sorry, item siblings is around here. um, but yeah, it's just a cool little area. It shows how they took the idea of Generation 1 and touched it up and gave it a little more personality. And I think that Route 43 is a great example of that sort of thing. Once again, the music here is fantastic. It's very moody, but it's super adventurous too, and it really helps the vibe, especially when you're out and you look and you can see there's this giant Gyarados out there. It's like, whoa, it really, as a kid, it really does help with the wonderment. I do have to say though, once again, the wild Pokemon here aren't especially unique for Johto. They're Most of the Pokemon you can find here, you can find anywhere else or in other places at least, and somewhat commonly. I think Flaffy might only be found in this area, and the shiny Flaffy, my first shiny Pokemon in Gen 2 that wasn't the Gyarados, was an Ampharos, and I caught a shiny Flaffy around here. I'm sure that's part of the reason that I like this area so much. Um, and then there's the red Gyarados, which in and of itself is awesome too. I'm gonna give the Route 43. Golly, guys, so sorry. And the Connecting Lake of Rage a 4 out of 5. There's nothing incredible here. You know what I mean? It's not game changing in any way around here. I mean, free Gyarados is always nice, but other than that, there's just not much really, but it's got really solid exploration elements. You're rewarded for being diligent. The music here is good. There's different things in different days and different events have been concluded and stuff. I think it's a really solid example of what a route in Pokemon can be. What about you? So this is my personal favorite of the Pokemon routes. Route 119 in Hoenn, which connects to the Weather Institute, although I won't be talking much about the Weather Institute itself. Um, this area is just so freaking cool. There's like a tropical forest, with constant thunderstorms, and there's waterfalls that you can explore, and it's got acro bike tracks that you can take. I think there are mock bike takes hills that you can go up to, or something along those lines. I don't know, maybe not. But there's always something else to do in this route. If you're not just outright catching all of the Pokemon, there's the weird mimic circle that they put on this route where those bug catchers all follow your movements. It's just a fun thing that they never did again. I kind of wish they would at some point. There's unique Pokemon to be found here. I think this is the only route where Tropius can be found. Maybe the lower Route 118 too, but I don't think so. Feebas is only found here. It's a slog to get one, but Feebas are only found here. You can spoil yourself early and catch a Kecleon on this route before you get up to Fortree City. And when Steven uses the thing and goes, "Oh, look at this Pokemon," you can be like, "Yeah, bro, I know. I've already caught one. That's like my fourth one." Right? There's a lot of cool stuff to do. There are cool berry trees that you can find there, and you can grow in. Whole bunch of secret bases that you can make. The music, cancel me, I don't care. The music here is the best in Pokemon, in my personal opinion. There's, Feebas kind of is the big minus here, though, huh? Not really an Oras because they fixed that stuff, but especially in the original Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, it's a pain to say the least. If you guys don't know how to catch Feebas or how that works and are curious, let me know in the comments. I'd love to make a video about it because it's one of the things I actually do like to do. But I know why people don't. But I'm a big fishing fan, so the waiting there doesn't bug me too much. Anyway, that is the only major minus I can think of, so I'm gonna give it a 4.8 out of 5 personally. Let me know what you think below. Is there another route in Hoenn that you like better? And with that, let's move on to Gen 4. So my favorite route in Gen 4 in Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum is Route 217, which is up in the north. It's where you get the rock climb HM, and there's a whole bunch of snow patches that you have to fight your way through. The ice rock is up there. The icy rock's a held item. The ice rock is up there to evolve Eevee into Glaceon. But there really isn't much there, and I just really like that. It's got the opposite vibe that a lot of Pokemon areas have, where everybody's together and we're all working together and doing what we can, living and just figuring out how things go in this crazy universe, and that's super nice. Don't get me wrong, I love that utopia setting that they've got going on there, but it's really cool to just have an area that's like so remote that there are like 15 people, you know. Even people in Pokemon have a hard time being out here and living out here. I love it. So I think that's pretty cool. I really love the ghost trainer idea. I'll mention this in a little bit here, but I wish it was expanded on a little bit. But that's a fun little, I guess, cameo thing you get there. I like the rock climb story where you don't have to give it to him, but if you do give it to him, you get rewarded for being kind. I think that's a great thing that kids should have more of in these Pokemon games. You know, it's not perfect. You get, oh yeah, the thing that he gives you is an Arceus plate, right? So it's not perfect, but it's really not too bad for how remote it is. I like all of Sinnoh's music. I think Gen 4 might be the best. It's tough. 3, 4, and 5 are just really good overall. But this is one of the better route themes in the game, in my opinion. It might not be my favorite, but it might. It's tough because I also like I like the what is it? Route 20 no, not 203, 204, 205, you know, the one that starts when you get to when you get past Flow Aroma Town and you're heading out towards Eterna Forest. I like that one a lot too. The Pokemon out here on Route 217 are rare for the Sinnoh region, but not unique to the route in particular. You know, you got Snover, you got Sneasel. In Diamond and Pearl, you have a bunch of stupid Pokemon that shouldn't be out here, like Machoke and Metacham and stuff like that. Golbat is out in all versions. I think that makes sense. There's 2 big caves nearby. So I'm not okay with that. Or I mean, I'm not okay with that one rather. But Machoke and Metacham was just, it was such a filler. We don't know what to put out here. List. Diamond and Pearl has that problem in general. But Platinum added Snorunt and Swinub. You know, a couple of other ice type Pokemon to make it make a little more sense. But yeah, nothing here is unique. You have to come out here for a Glaceon, you know, if you want to use the Ice Rock. And that does draw people out here, but I mean, that really should have been in the game earlier. You're already on Gym Badge 7 by this point, so if you want a Glaceon, your Eevee's, and it's like, what? It's late 30s, early 40s at the weakest, right? It's just way too late. But overall, I'm going to give this route a 3.8 out of 5. I don't think it's good enough to be a 4, but it is good. I wish there was a little more tying in to the spooky aesthetic that was established by the ghost trainer. Maybe she could be a Frostlass trying to do something, or there could be a Frostlass den nearby. It's just super random that we have this ghost aesthetic out here in the cold loneliness, and then we just kind of drop it. in the real world, that works really effectively for ghost stories because ghost stories have no known source of energy or power or anything like that. So ghosts do just kind of in and out of our lives. Allegedly, I don't believe in ghosts, but people, I believe that people believe they saw ghosts. Do you feel me? Um, but in the Pokemon universe, ghost is a type. Ghosts of people are very much real, and there's no reason to not expand on that when you can. I mean, they love to do ghost stuff in Pokemon, so I think it would have been fun to have some sort of Frostlass related thing here. Let's move on to Gem 5, shall we? So it's not very hard, in my personal opinion, to pick a favorite for Gen 5. Gen 5 only really has two, in my opinion, that stand out. There's Route 10 in, the northern part heading out to the Pokemon League. And then there's Route 14 and 15 with the waterfalls that let you go out and explore the, I don't remember what it's called, but the shrine, Abundant Shrine, there we go, with Landorus. Um, those two areas are very much a vibe that I mess with. But other than that, there's just not much really in Unova. It's kind of the weak point of Unova, in my opinion, is that the region itself is kind of boring. Generation 5 was very much supposed to be a revamp of Kanto, and the ultra urbanized vibe that Unova gives is kind of boring for me. I need to make that abundantly clear. For me, it's kind of boring, kind of safe. But with that out of the way, Route 10 is the winner. I think this is a lot of people's favorite. I said everybody when I typed it up, but I'm being hyperbolic. It's just really well designed, very solid overall. I think they got rid of it in Black 2 and White 2 just to make us all mad. Personally, piss us off a bit. Because it really doesn't make any sense from a how well received it was perspective. I don't know. Anyway, what can I say here that you don't already know? The badge check stuff in this route is incredible. It's great storytelling. There are strong and rare Pokemon here, although uh, outside of Vullaby and Mandibuzz, I don't. I mean, Vullaby and Rufflet. I can't think of anything particularly unique. There are tough trainers out here. There's a cool encounter with Charon and Bianca too, but you fight Charon. The music is just incredible. It's the best route track in the game, maybe in the whole series. It's really hard to say which one is the best overall, but this is a contender for that, for as far as music's concerned. I'd say it gets a 4.8 out of 5. This is one of the few routes in the games that really has a vibe to me. Well, in the games being Black and White, that has a vibe to me. It stands out on its own in a game that I don't think has too many memorable routes in general, as I mentioned earlier. And the story, yeah, it's just got a nice story payoff here. I do have to say, personally, I wish there was more of a reason to come back after you've beaten Black and White version. I think there's like Tyrogue out here or something as a swarm, but none of the Hitmons are so good that I need to be going out there and grabbing one immediately. You know what I mean? But that's kind of a complaint for me for the first Black and White versions in general. There's just not a lot to do once you're done with the story. But having said that, I think this is an easy W for Route 10. What do you all think? Let me know below, please. So once again, longtime viewers of the channel, if such a beast exists, excuse me, wow, just fumbled right over that one, huh, guys? Those people who have seen some of my videos may have noticed that I am a big paleontology fan. I actually went to school for paleontology for a little while. I had to come back home. My mother broke her back, and I had to come home and help her run her business so that she could stay afloat. So I was not able to finish that schooling. But I love paleontology to this day. I am something of an amateur paleontologist myself. I have found some fossils on my own. I enjoy going out and finding fossils. My personal favorite, I found a megalodon tooth while I was in South Carolina, I believe. Um, and it's just a nice, wonderful addition to my collection. Anyway, enough of that. Um, because I love paleontology so much, when X and Y came out and you were able to ride on a giant mammoth swine through the ice and just bulldoze your way through the snow to get where you wanted to go, I was sold instantly. That was one of my favorite things about X and Y version. In general, the ride Pokemon was one of my favorite parts about that. Um, Modern Pokemon kind of has a technology problem, in my opinion, and it's not like it doesn't like cause errors with the franchise or anything like that. But there's a I don't know. In a world where Pokemon exist, because Pokemon are relatively around human intelligence, right? They understand what we're saying to them. They can execute tasks that we put before them. Sometimes they do things that we can do without our consent. Right, and for our help, of course. Sometimes there are bad Pokemon, right? But usually to help us, right? But the fact is, in a universe where a woolly mammoth and a person can talk to each other and are helping each other out beneficially, the woolly mammoth is going to push all of the snow out of the way, right? The kinds of machines that we have here in the human universe wouldn't exist in this universe because there'd be no need for them. And this is not inherently a Generation 6 problem. This does go back to Generation 1 and 2 as well. What do we need bullet trains for? I have a big giant fire-breathing dragon that I can just fly across. Yeah, sure, it might take me a little less time, but we wouldn't know that because we just keep using the flying dragons and there wouldn't be bullet trains. You know, the humans of the Pokemon world do not behave like humans in the human world would. Where if we had access to these things that allow us to, dive underwater without technology, or get across oceans without ships, or fly across great distances without needing airplanes, or get across the land super fast on the back of Miraidon, for example, right? We would be focusing on the aspects of human culture that help us mentally and physically and help us make up for the stuff that the Pokemon can't do. That would be where we would specialize. That's how humans work, because that's how nature works. We would specialize into the things that the Pokemon couldn't do. And that's why I always thought, comparatively at any rate, the Pokemon world was a utopia, was because people were able to work on some more interpersonal things, because manual labor wasn't the issue that it was. But then starting, especially later on, we just have all of the machine equivalents for all of the Pokemon, and it's just like, why? But I just don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me. Why does this exist? Anyways, I'm sorry. I know that was a bit of a ramble. I do apologize, but this segment of this route makes me think about that every time, because this was Game Freak looking at their Pokemon and actually going, wow, these would probably be used in lieu of other stuff, right? Like, and then they just stopped, and it was really disappointing to see, especially since Gen 7 upped the ante with the ride Pokemon. Right? And then they just anyway. The Pokemon here are not exceptional. They are encountered in a fun way. I do feel bad, but also kind of chuckled the first time that I was doing this, and I stepped on something and said, "You stepped on a Snover." I was like, "Oh my god!" Also, ha! Uh, um, but yeah, it's not unique. Nothing here, from what I can recall, is only found here. So there's no reason to come back in any way. It's a slog to go through it multiple times, so that will also discourage you. There are hidden items, but you're not getting much out of it otherwise. So I'm going to give this one a 3.3 out of 5. I think it's on the weaker side of the routes that I've been talking about because there's not much to explore. The music here is good. Excuse me, folks, give me a second. Sorry, y'all, that was my cat being an absolute jerk to my dog for no reason. I have well, actually, I don't really know what breed my cat is. He's gray backed and ring-tailed with black stripes, but he has a white body, and his head is gray too. But my dog over here is a Morkie, and he's smaller than my cat, so my cat will be an absolute menace to him sometimes. Um, anyway, the music here is good, but it's used elsewhere, so I don't know. It's not exceptional. I didn't remember the music aspect of this route. You know what I mean? Um, so with all of that out of the way, I think a 3.3 out of 5 is fitting. This must be my lucky number because we're back at Route 10 again in Alola. Alola has some really interesting routes in terms of design and exploration elements. I really do think the exploration elements are the strongest part of Alola compared to routes in some other games, especially compared to Kalos and then Galar after it. Alola has some fun depth to what you can do in its routes and stuff, and I think that's great. Route 10 is my personal favorite. Um, in the game, Pokemon can ambush you from trees and shrubs and the tops of caves and things like that. That was carried over from Generation 6. They dropped it. I don't know why. But it really hits a good stride in this route. It's fun to encounter Pokemon that way in this route. The highway road up to Mount Hokulani, it's not intricate or anything. But there's some trainers out there that are fun to encounter. You can encounter Minior around here. There are shooting stars everywhere. There's an observatory in the background. It's just really got a vibe that the rest of Alola doesn't have. And it ties in really well with the Sun and Moon theme of the game, overall. So I think it's the strong point of Alola. Um, but I will say once again, we have a track that is good, but it's used a lot. I do think it works best in this route, though. For Pokemon encounters, we've got Minior, which is only found here, if I recall correctly. The Beldum line, I think Beldum and Metang, and then maybe Metagross, they're crazy encounters. Skarmory, Pancham, and Pineco are the ones that I remember encountering most. I actually caught a shiny Skarmory out here in my first Ultra Sun and Moon run through, which was a Nuzlocke. I went into that blind, and I only survived because of that shiny Skarmory, because it was the only thing that I had that was able to tank even one attack from Ultra Necrozma. I had no idea Ultra Necrozma existed. So all of my team wiped except for shiny Skarmory. It's one of my most memorable Pokemon encounters. I'm sure, again, that influenced its ranking personally. Anyway, with all of that out of the way, I'm going to give this route a 4 out of 5. Route 10 is good enough to be remembered, but not revered by me personally. You know what I mean? I don't think about it a lot. But when I'm playing Sun and Moon, I'm like, yeah, I can't wait to get over there. Alola in general is just missing a little something. I really don't know what it is. I've kind of struggled with this for a while because I just can't figure out what Alola doesn't have that it needs. But there's something. Um, if you feel the same way as I do, would you let me know down below why you feel that way? Maybe you all can help me come to an understanding about this. In Generation 8, we've got Route 6 here. I think I like this route more in concept and less in execution. It has a lot of potential. There's no analog to it really in any other game. ruins are in Pokemon, but they're usually dungeons. They're not routes. And I think that's kind of a pity because, especially anyone who's been around Europe can attest. And also Southeast Asia, what would have been called Asia Minor in antiquity, can attest, or Southwest Asia, excuse me, can attest to this. There are ruins just littered on roads. Like all over the place. The Romans just left crap everywhere, and everybody else followed them, and they left their crap everywhere too. So I think ruins would be a really fun route for a Pokemon game to use. These ruins in particular, not in color, but just in like the brightness and the mystery behind them, despite the subtlety of their existence. They give me Kirby 64 vibes. And little Phalanx running around ain't helping that any. Phalanx is so cute. I really wish Phalanx had either an evolution or a pre-evolution. I'd love to use one of these little guys. For the record, I personally don't, unless I'm doing like competitive teams, of course. I'm not picky at that point. But when I'm doing playthroughs, I don't like using unevolved Pokemon. I don't know how you all feel about that, but evolution's like one of the major mechanics of the game. Excuse me. Sorry, there's another one of my hiccups. So I don't see why you wouldn't want to utilize it, but that's just me personally, right? The music here is good, but it's not noteworthy in my opinion. I don't ever think of the music when I think about this area. Phalanx is only found here in Sword and Shield. Stone Journer can only be found here in Sword. I don't think any of these Pokemon are top tier, but they are fun. I like their designs. They're some of the more Pokemon-like Pokemon in Generation 8, in my personal opinion. There are other strong monsters that you can find here too, though. But there's just not a lot of exploration here. That's true for Galar and overall. Those routes are kind of a joke. And there's really no reason to return to this area outside of catching the aforementioned monsters that I brought up. This is a 3.5 out of 5 here. It's a solid gimmick. There's some things of note to come back for, but not like any exploration or anything like that. It's just got a really poor execution on said gimmick. So Gen 9 doesn't have roots per se. So we can't. Oh man, I just feel like I did the per se, man. Any of you South Park heads out there, man, I really appreciate. Anyway, point is, it doesn't have roots in it. It has like areas and provinces and stuff. So I picked North Province Area 2 as a proxy for roots. I don't know what China's doing in Spain for Scarlet and Violet, but I really don't care. I'm sure there's some historical reason for that I didn't understand. I'm an ignorant Western monster, and I didn't understand Spain and Japan's connections for Kitakami, and learned about them through Kitakami, and that was pretty cool. So I'm sure there's some reason for this too. But I do have to say, the area is a breath of fresh air compared with the rest of Paldea. Paldea, Paldea just didn't wow me at all, folks. I hated all of the cities, quote unquote, with 10 people and no buildings that you can go into. Um, I hated the wilderness areas because there just didn't seem to be any design intention behind them. I will say I liked the caves that were underneath Glaciato Mountain and connected through stuff. Some of the caves in general were fun. Those cliffside areas that connected to I can't even remember the name of this area. The town with the psychic gym leader that had the fun wallpaper to it. I will admit. Those cliffs were cool. But this was the area that actually struck me. This area felt a lot more purposeful in its design than some of the other areas, and I really respected that. I hope that Winds and Waves is a lot more like this and a lot less like anything else in Paldea. The music here is a nice change from the rest of the game. It's got the same little motif, the do 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 going on, but I like the the music here overall, the way they interpreted it, I like. Um, the Bisharp roaming around with all of the Pawniards encircling them that you have to fight with your Bisharp are just really memorable. There aren't a lot of encounters in the game like that, so I remembered that a lot. I purposely seek it out just for fun, even in games where I'm not evolving a Bisharp. Um, or I guess it's Bisharp, isn't it? Because they're chess pieces. So Bisharp. Um, there are Pokemon like Scyther and Slacking, Lokix, Golduck, many more. But that are there. They're not good Pokemon in general. Well, Lokix, I guess Scyther in lower tiers. Um, but they are iconic and popular Pokemon, definitely. And Scyther can evolve into a good Pokemon, of course. I love Slacking. It's absolutely awful, but I don't care. I use it anyway. I love the guy. So this is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. There's a legendary around here that you have to explore to find, which is super cool. The encounters for the Pokemon are memorable and unique. The vibe shifts from the rest of Paldea in a good direction. And the trainers here are varied too. I'd say it's a good route and a bad game. Okay, so we have to have a mog off here because Route 119 in Hoenn and Route 10 in Unova are tied in their score. One must mog the other in order to proceed. So, this is what I was using for my grading rubric. I had 5 factors for each of the points. And there's Pokemon encounters overall. Are there a lot of things to catch? Unique Pokemon encounters. Are there cool slash memorable things for you to catch in the route? Depth of exploration, where can you go and what can you do once you get there? Story and plot relevance, are you coming back a lot? Is there a reason to come back at all? And music, which, speaks for itself. So here's how I'm gonna do this one. We got them both side by side, staring each other down. I'm looking at them, I'm measuring them, I'm taking these points into account, and here's what I'm thinking. Route 10 deserves the encounters point. There are better Pokemon there, and they are more varied as well. But unique encounters goes to 119. Feebas and Tropius are here. You can catch a Kecleon early, like I said, by spoiling yourself. And Feebas has a dedicated mechanic to it on that route, nowhere else in the game. So that's got to go to 119. I'm going to give depth of exploration to 119 too, because there's waterfall caves, there's 2 different bikes that you can use on the routes, there's secret bases, there's invisible Pokemon for you to encounter with the Devon Scope. I think I said Sylph Scope earlier, but I meant Devon Scope. It's just more varied overall. Oh yeah, the tall grass areas. I forgot about those. Yeah. And then let's see here. Story and plot. That's going to go to Route 10. It's hard to make me feel anything in Pokemon because it's not for my age demographic, right? I'm not there for the story. I'm there to catch the Pokemon, try them out in battle simulators and stuff like that, right? But your interactions with Charon and Bianca on the route are actually legitimately sweet. I like the conclusion of their story. It ends in Victory Road, but I like that it's starting to build up to the end there. So that's going to go to them. So they're tied 2 for 2. I like Route 119's music better, but I don't represent the whole community. And the fact of the matter is, Route 10 has been used in a whole bunch of stuff. Yoko Shimomura, the goat herself, remixed it for Smash Brothers 4. So I'm just going to have to give it to Route 10. And so, because of that, Unova's Route 10 is our champion. I think with all of that in mind, it really does have the best Game Freak has to offer in mind. If you want the best high you can get on a route, I would say go to Route 10. Play black and white version and go to Route 10. Because you're gonna have a good time while you're there. But having said that, I do have to give 119 its chops and say, if you actually want a route where you can just come back and you can just play, you don't have to go to the battle frontier, you don't have to go battle anybody in particular. If you just want to live in the world of Pokemon and go do stuff, I think Route 119 is a really fun place to do that stuff, especially if you have free time. When I was a kid, that was a lot easier to do than it is now, of course. But every so often, I still do boot up one of my saves and raise some berries and just edit my secret base and stuff like that. So I definitely recommend checking it out. Anyway, thanks for your time. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and tell me about your personal favorite routes. Just because these are my favorites doesn't mean I don't like other ones. There are plenty that I actually really like. So I'd love to hear what your personal favorites are yourselves. So, very quickly, gotta get the boring but important stuff out of the way. I don't own Game Freak, Pokemon, TPCI, Nintendo, anything related to Pokemon in any way, shape, or form. All rights to the respective owners. All the art that you have seen on here belongs to the people credited in the caption below. Give them some love too, please. They are fantastic. Like I just said, y'all, you are amazing. Keep up what you're doing, because I think y'all are going to go places. With all of that having been said, stay safe out there. Let your families know that you love them. See y'all in the next one. I hope you have a great week.